Hi friends, I'm Tammy K. Welcome to my channel, and today's a special day. Today we're painting this vibrant bouquet of flowers, but we are also using the supplies from Kristy Rice. She was so generous to send me her set of watercolor paints. It's a beautiful palette with very unique colors. I've actually been using another one that I purchased months ago, and so this is a second one. And also her brushes. This is her second set of brushes, and they all have very, very unique shapes. I'm excited to show those to you, as well as this collapsible paint pot. I'm so excited to challenge myself to use all of the brushes today to create this lovely bouquet. We will also be talking about forgiveness, which is an interesting thing to consider. So let's get to it. We're gonna start with her number 12 round brush. We're gonna start putting in these lovely tulips. So I'm gonna go in with that nice fuchsia color. And I really, really love the creamy pinks on the palette as well as the coral. Just so pretty. So I'm mixing that in. Those definitely have white, and so it creates that nice creamy look, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. So we're just gonna go in with this watery paint, and we're just gonna start adding in our tulip shapes. I'm going to squeegee off the side here, and another part right there to create our tulip, and maybe just a little petal coming off right there as well. Add a little purple in there. Let's do another one on the side here as well. And a little more purple, a little more water. And let's do another one like so. Maybe just a little bit of a petal just coming off right there. Okay, all right, so that is the number 12 round, which is a classic brush, a classic size. Now a lot of these other brushes might be kind of unique to your experience. I'm gonna take this again because I want to do the centers of our kind of sunflower flowers that we have here. So grabbing that brown, and I'm going to do one in the center here of these lovely tulips. So just doing a circle, kind of stippling in that color and leaving a little bit of white space for a highlight. I like to add in my centers first. Sometimes I don't. But often I like to do that. It gives me the placement of where I'm going to put my flowers, and just little squiggly lines here. And then I add the petals later. And sometimes I wait until things dry, make this a little bit bigger. And sometimes I don't. It just depends on what I'm feeling like doing that day. Okay, let's do another one right here. It's going to be a side-facing bloom, so I'm just going to do a little half circle situation. So who really knows how I just did that? I was not paying attention, and that is quite an imperfection on my paper, but we're going to work with it. No worries. Now, one thing you can try to do is scrub that and lift some of that color. And so we're just going to take a damp, clean brush. I'm going to try to do that right now. And that's called lifting paint. There's a lot happening here. And so we are actually going to add in all kinds of stems and things like that, and most likely can kind of cover over that. But we can lift off some of that color in the meantime. And this is just the way it goes. If you've been to my channel, you know that I'm a pretty messy painter, and I'll be the first to admit it because it is the truth. And look at that. It's just a light color here. We can add some other colors, and as that dries, we'll work with it. So I did clean my water so I could try to lift that a little bit more. And that's as much as we're gonna worry about that today. So now I've got my really bright yellow color, this neon color. I'm not going to use it just like that. That's gonna be pretty intense for what we're doing. So I'm just gonna grab a lot of this yellow, mixing it up. I'm gonna add some red because maybe we'll go with some kind of an orangey look for our sunflowers. Almost want to dip it inside that water. Okay, all right, let's grab some of that. And so there's an orange happening here. And of course it takes a little bit of red to create a really dark, more reddish, red leaning color, a lot more yellow to, you know, do the yellow part too, because yellow is not such a strong color and we just have to add a lot more. So we're gonna use this color right now. And what I'm gonna do is use this 3/4 inch dagger brush. And this thing is a monster, it's a beast, it's gorgeous. I'm really excited to try to put in some really pretty petals. Look at that. So you can use it from the side like this. You can use it from the tip right here. And look at the beautiful marks it's creating. I love this. This is a very, very unique way of painting these petals. So I don't know if you've used Kristy Rice's brushes before. If you have, let me know in comments. What do you think about them? Have you used her first set or her second set? I definitely have her first set. I purchased those a long time ago. And I've gotten so much use out of them. They're absolutely gorgeous. Let's do another one here. And so I'm just going really light on these petals, leaving some white space and nice orange, light orangey look for these. This brush is really making me happy today. Can you imagine making some gorgeous leaves with this? We can even do that later, because we have to add in leaves to our composition. It's gonna happen. It's going to occur. So this one is that side facing. So we're gonna have some longer petals right here, and then we're gonna have them kind of swoop up like this. I'm being really careful not to touch that center. And then we've got some really shorties right here. Oh, see, I touched it. But guess what? What's the worst that's gonna happen? Well, we just have some spreading here. And that's okay. It's going to create some variation to our painting. Remember, I'm always talking about painting in a way that is stress-free. This is supposed to be therapeutic and not a stress-induced situation. If it's stressful for you, then maybe it's time to rethink how you have been painting. It's just a thought. Okay, I'm going to take that number 12 round again. We're going to go with this really lacy flower. Do I want to take that one? Maybe I want to take a thinner brush. Nah. Thinner brush will take a while. I'm gonna take this one actually. This is the 1/8 inch dagger brush. Super cute, super finite. And we're gonna grab some blue on our palette. So the idea here, and I'm gonna grab this more of a neutral color to mix it in because I wanna lighten this up, have a nice creamy look. This is really pretty. So I'm trying to mix as much as I feel like I need. But if you need to mix more, go ahead and do it. And we're just gonna use a little bit of that. So I'm doing what I kind of call little carnations. So we're going to, what are we gonna start with? We'll add it in right here. So I just got these little lines right here. And we're going to kind of sketch. We're just gonna do some little sketchy lines. And these are really just kind of lacy and fun little fillers. So just have fun with this. I mean, it's not a tiny flower that, you know, what you would consider a typical filler, but it's definitely filling in this space. And I'm loving it. This is looking really fun. And if you wanted to, you can even just like press down with the belly of the brush and just to create some interesting thicker petals, okay? So let's do that a couple more times. I'm just we're gonna do a side facing. I'm just roughly, following my outline that I already have. And this is a sample I did when I was on my RV trip. I painted every morning at whatever picnic table was available. And we were doing this whole trip, a new place, new site every night. And so it's a lot of different places to be able to sit outside and paint. And just these little sketchy lines, we will connect them with some green right here for the base of the flower, but I'm liking that look, that's fun. I love this color too, this is gorgeous. So mixing that neutral color with the blue, beautiful shade. And when I have used her palette before, let's do another side facing, I've typically just put the paint down and I didn't really worry about mixing, but there's so much you can do with these colors. And she has said before that, she was looking for colors when she created her palette, colors that are unique, that you're not gonna find in that traditional palette. For example, this fluorescent yellow, it's gorgeous. Mixing it together, you may not use it like that, or you might, but if you don't want to, you can mix it and create a whole bunch of different new colors and looks. Okay, so we have those down. I want to do kind of a cosmo flower. And so we've used 3 of our brushes. I am going to use all of them. I'm going to use this one now. This is the number 6 filbert. Oh, so cute. And this is going to be a fun one for using this brush shape. So we're going to do what I'm calling a cosmo flower. And I'm going to grab this red, super bright, beautiful red color. So grab a bunch of that. We could actually just do it straight up if we wanted to. Do I want to? Maybe. I think I'm gonna try adding some of that neutral color. There we go. And then which adds in a bit of white. That's a nice little creaminess we've got going on here. So add some more water. And I'm just calling these cosmos. So we're gonna go ahead and start just grabbing this and creating some really fun, beautiful petals. And I think I want them to be rounded here. So I'm just making some shorter petals here and some longer ones at the top because of the perspective of the flower. And let's go ahead and add a few more up here. And then we're reserving the middle so that we can put in a nice center later. And as I'm putting these petals in, and we're just thinking about, what our composition is going to look like, today I want to talk a bit about forgiveness. I've been thinking about forgiveness a lot, and if you've seen my videos, I do love to talk about mental health because that is my main career and one of my passions and as a therapist. And this idea that, there's so many people that hold on to grudges, frustrating situations because someone has harmed them. And, legitimately, we have a right, to be able to hold on to those things and be frustrated. But who does it end up hurting when we have grudges? It ends up usually just hurting us. And so I wanted to introduce this topic of forgiveness and just kind of get you to think about if there's a situation in your life, something that comes to mind when I talk about that, and what is your reaction? And you feel like, the idea of forgiving this person for whatever it is that they've done, does that feel absurd? Does it feel unheard of? Does it feel ridiculous or difficult? I'm curious what you guys think about that. If you don't mind, let me know in comments because I want to keep talking about this, but I do want to keep painting, but I want to hear from you and know what your thoughts are. All right, so now we're at the place where we can start adding in some filler details. I have a couple more brushes here that I haven't used, and we will get to that. But I'd like to start by adding in some of our greenery. So I've got a beautiful green color on this palette. I'm just gonna pull that out right here. And I like to use this one straight up. It's really pretty. And so I'm gonna grab some of that. And I think I'm gonna just start adding in maybe some little brush strokes, just start to practice with this and see what it looks like. It has a really nice tip. This rounded filbert is quite lovely. And we can twist and turn and create thinner and thicker leaves as well as we're going throughout our composition. So this whole point is that we are filling in our space with some greenery and some lovely moments, and maybe mix it together. It's a nice yellow color, a little mustardy color. And I just want to start putting in some of those stems that you'll see just lightly, or connecting different parts that need that greenery at the bottom. And adding that right there. And as I'm adding these stems in, I want to remind you that, forgiveness, the idea of forgiveness, we're going to go ahead and do our actual stems here at the bottom. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what the person did to you was okay. It doesn't mean that, you're letting it go and not recognizing that there was true harm done, it doesn't let the person get off without any repercussion, so to speak. It doesn't mean that justice isn't served. What forgiveness means many times is that it's this idea of letting go and moving forward, because when we hold on to the grudge, we end up getting stuck there. I'm going to do another side facing bloom here, but without the center. And so, you know, essentially when we choose to let go, which we don't always feel like it at the time, feelings come later, but when we choose to let go, we choose to find freedom for ourselves, to move forward where that horrible thing that happened to us that was not okay does not dictate who we are and doesn't follow our thoughts around constantly. And so it's something to think about, being able to find freedom, which is a beautiful thing. Okay, so I'm going to take the tiniest brush now. It is a 000 round. I don't really know how you say that, 000 round. All right, so we're going to make some yellow here. Grabbing some yellow. I'm going to actually use a larger brush for that so we can get moving a little bit faster. And so that's the thing. If you don't like mixing colors, this might feel like an arduous task, but I honestly feel like this is such a good skill for everybody to learn, to be able to mix the colors that you want and see what the combinations make. And even just do some, you know, color testing. Just take your paper and start mixing different concentrations of colors together to see what you can get. It's a really fun task, and it's so helpful in your journey as you're learning to see what different colors make and the possibilities. Okay, so we're just going to stippling with this really tiny brush. Stippling is essentially just making these little dots. And some of them will stick together and some of them will be spread apart, leaving some white space of the paper. And of course, I'm jumping all over the place, aren't I? Because I did start off with adding some stems and some greenery, and then I just skipped around to starting to do this. But anyway, we'll get back to it. It's kind of how I paint. I skip around and just kind of do the floating thing. All right, so let's see. I'm going to use, and there's so many brushes here that I'm just like, which one should I use next? There's so many options. And these are unique. These are unique brushes. I mean, besides the number 12 round, which is still not totally common to use, but round brushes are fairly common. All these are just so interesting and unique, and you probably most likely don't have them at home. And so anyway, if you're interested in picking up any of these supplies, I've linked them in the description of this video, and it's my Amazon affiliated link, so there's that. All right, I've got lots and lots of stems to put in here. I like to kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I did 11. I kind of like to put an accurate amount in there. It just doesn't really matter, but no one's really counting except the one person that is, right? So, okay, we're just going to do some greenery. So I'm going to do a little stem. Then I'm going to press down the belly of the brush. Little stem, press down, maybe squeegee some of that color off. And so what we're doing is really thin connecting stem and then pressing down with the belly. And if you lift off slow, you're gonna get a nice point. Oh, isn't that pretty? This is a beautiful, beautiful brush. This cat's tongue number 6. I love the shapes we're getting there. So let's try that again. And we are starting with the pointed tip down. And so we're gonna get more of a rounded edge to these leaves. And I'm painting at a different angle, so it's not gonna look exactly the same, and that's okay. And then we're gonna do that, and there, and maybe have a little bit more greenery coming out in that space there. How are you feeling? I hope you are enjoying this video. If you are, please give it a like so that other people can find it and enjoy the painting process with us. If you are interested in learning more about self-care, I definitely talk about those things in my videos as well. And make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my videos when I post. I also teach watercolor on Patreon, guys, and you can join free for a week just to check it out. and see if you like the bonus content. And if you do, then you can continue to stay, but it's a risk-free cancel anytime before that 7 days is over, and you won't be charged anything. So it's great to get exclusive tutorials over there, as well as live stream access with me. Our live stream is coming up soon. It's usually towards the end of the month on a Sunday, and there's always a recording if you can't make it on that day, so the people in the live stream tiers can have access to it for the next 30 days. So we're just doing some cool little brush strokes here, making sure to add in some beautiful greenery. And you know, don't be, as Kristy says, don't be too precious about your brush strokes. Just put them down and kind of walk away. That's what I'm saying. Don't belabor, you know, what you're doing, remembering that if it's green and it's in the area where leaves will be, people are going to, you know, interpret it as green leaves. So, okay. So I'm liking what's happening here. This, you can still see the brown, and that's okay. We're going to take our cat's tongue again, which has a nice point, and I'm going to bring some of these stems down more. So it's going to cover that up. We're also going to probably, we are totally going to do splatter, which is one of my favorite things. So I'm looking at the composition at this point, and I start to think, you know, how is it balancing out? I think I'd like some green with some brown in it. The variation in the type of leaf color we've got going on here. So a little more water. And I think I'm gonna do, I love this side facing flower. I'm really excited about how that turned out, just saying. A little bit of a stem, and then we're just gonna do that classic leafy shape. And you can even just do a few little marks if you want to. Let's do another one right here. So I'm just going through and being very aware of my composition and how I feel about it at this point. Right now we've got some length coming down here, and I think I want to do more up this way. So we're just kind of S-curving over to the top, and little stem, pressing down, lifting up, creating a nice leaf, and then maybe one right there. Okay, all right, and just a little bit there. Okay, so I always say that, and then I'm like, well, wait, I'm not done yet. I have more to do, more to give. So now we're gonna take that 000 brush, 000, that's probably how you say it, I don't know. And we're gonna start connecting some of these guys. We're using the brown that I have, and that's okay. Just a little bit more connection for some of these guys that they're just spraying out everywhere. All right. And I love having a really thin brush like this. When you connect your lines and they're really thick and chunky, it's just not, for me, it's not as satisfying as when I can use a really thin stem and get all those things to connect. I think it's really pretty. Okay, dabbing your brush is really important when you have lots of water dripping off of it, so that you don't get a pool, a puddle on your paper, you know, if that's not the look you're going for. Of course, if you don't mind, then go for it. No big deal. I use a paper towel, and I'm kind of constantly dabbing. All right, so we're gonna do our second layer of color, and I'm gonna take this big brush again. I have a lot of yellow on my palette right now. There's a little bit of red in there, but I want to make some contrast, maybe some shadows and that kind of thing with this brush on these flowers. So I'm gonna press down and, you know, just do a few little marks. There's some thicker ones and some thinner ones, reminding yourself this is going to dry about 1 shade lighter. That's kind of what they say anyway. About 1 shade lighter. I think that's pretty accurate. And just creating some moments where you've got some contrast in the florals is really pretty. I'm just twisting and turning this brush here so that we can really get some nice perspective and some angles. And we're gonna mix up some more. Remember that red a little bit goes a long, long way. And so now, just doing my side facing flower a little bit. So I've got thick and thin lines is kind of how, you know, I usually do things. And over here, this color is going to be a little bit darker than the one I previously mixed up. And I think that's pretty because you've got just a contrast now of different shadow lines. All of a sudden, these flowers are really starting to come to life. You know, before they just had one light layer and, you know, not that exciting, not that pretty. And now we're just making these guys come alive with some beautiful pops of color. I paint really quickly, if you haven't noticed, and it causes me just to sort of, you know, put down that color and not worry too much. And so some people, their process is a little bit slower and they might find they're having more accuracy with, you know, some of the details that they're doing, and that's fine. There's different ways to paint. I'm gonna grab this pink. It's so pretty. And because there's white in this, with watercolor, we can go light. So I'm just gonna see how this looks. Grabbing some of that thick paint and adding that over the top just for a little bit of a detail. Okay, in our tulips, and we can maybe do some darker over the top as well later. So here for the red, I'm just gonna go pretty dark with this. I'm scrubbing my paint, getting as much color as I can. And then I'm gonna add a little brown and darken it up a little bit more like a burgundy color and just see how that looks. So we're doing the similar situation where just adding in some quick lines here for some shadow and some texture. If you really wanted to be snarky, you could go in with some black. I don't know why I thought that was snarky, but really fancy. And that's gonna give you a really big contrast with your different colors here. So remembering the thin and thick lines and just going for it, you know, don't worry too much. This cat's tongue is going to give a nice point with some of these petal marks here, which is pretty cute, pretty pretty. And sometimes I like to cover, you know, the petal a lot, and other times I just do some little thin lines. Okay, we do have to give some attention to the centers of, well, especially this one, because this one turned out a bit lighter, and I'm just gonna still go with that cat's tongue. You know, these brushes, you can use them to make unique marks, or you can use them just in that general way that you would a round brush. So that's kind of what I'm doing today. I'm doing both. I'm just gonna go outside the lines here, just filling in this round space a little bit more since things are mostly dry, and with some just unique brush strokes and painterly brush strokes. And I'm going over the original center too, in case it makes a difference. I just like a painterly look. I like bold brush strokes and harsh lines sometimes, and that's just more, you know, my personal style. But you need to paint in the style that fits you and that works for you. Let's grab some of that beautiful, beautiful turquoise color. I want to use that just to add a little bit of highlights in some places so that we can just have a little bit of a contrast with some of that. Oh, my palette keeps swishing to the side. So we're just pressing down, adding a few marks, and that's, you know, creating maybe some shadow. And I'm doing that for all of these. I'm going pretty quickly. You can go slower. If you ever need to pause the video, please do, because I don't want you guys to feel rushed. Oh, and sometimes people will play the video, you know, sped up. Well, sped up if you're wanting to see it fast, or just most likely slowed down, you know, and whatever your comfort level is what you need to do. Okay, so I think I'd like to add a little bit of this color to the stems a little bit, and maybe make some of these a little bit thicker, just to kind of, you know, cover up what was put there by my hand that I didn't even know I did. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, dip into stuff and your hand makes these marks. I love this color, and I like the brush strokes here. Reminds me of a peacock. And so I'm just gonna add a little bit of little accent here and there. Just see how I like it. I like it. How's your painting going? I hope you are loving it and enjoying this process. And I hope that if you feel nervous at all, just take a deep breath and remind yourself this is practice. It's supposed to be fun, right? I want you to have so much fun when you do these paintings. It's supposed to be a session where you are learning, you're developing muscle memory, you're developing new ways to take care of yourself as an individual, being able to be healthy and strong to go out into the world to make a difference in lives of others, and to be able to contribute positively in a way that is meaningful and that is healthy and beautiful. That is my goal for you. See, look, I'm just adding little brush strokes, making these tulips a little more expanded. That's what you can do. It's your painting, you can do what you want. All right, guys, the last piece of it is going to be splatter. And I don't know, I'm gonna take this brush, but we're gonna add a lot of water. So this painting is definitely unique. It's definitely different than the one that I started with. I hope you guys have enjoyed this with me, and I hope that you consider, someone in your life that you might want to extend forgiveness to. That doesn't mean that you tell them necessarily. It doesn't mean you reconcile. It just means, and that is a beautiful thing if those things can happen. But often that's not what is going to happen. Sometimes what ends up happening is that you are embracing moving forward without regret, without anger, without being stuck and thinking about that person every day and wishing some bad things upon them. Instead, you will be more healthy and vibrant and excited to tackle the world in a healthy, positive way, in a way that makes you focus on the good things and not the terrible things. It helps you to let go of the bad and move forward for your own good. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you appreciated painting together today and the talk on forgiveness. Let me know in comments if you have any questions or thoughts further on painting or forgiveness, and I will see you guys soon. Make sure to check out the supply links for Kristy Rice's supplies, all located in the description of this video. I hope that you can consider painting this, as well as thinking about someone in your life that you might need to practice forgiveness on. It's a hard subject to think about, but it's valuable so that we can move forward with vibrancy and beauty and health to be able to make a good impact on the world. Talk to you guys later in the next video.